Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls and folk of all ages, you know what time it is. It is the month of September, and we've got some very special holidays, holy days, days of remembrance for our folk to go over. And we will start that off with the first day of remembrance, Prince Hermann of the Cherusci. And his day of remembrance is on the 9th, just a few days away. And then we'll follow that up on the 12th with the Day of Remembrance for Elsie Christensen. And as always, we have a holiday to go over, and that would be Haustblót. The official day for that is September 22nd, because it aligns with the autumnal equinox. But we do observe it on the 20th, because that is the third Saturday of the month, as always. So let's go over it, get down to it. Here we go. On September the 9th is the Day of Remembrance of Prince Hermann of the Cherusci. And he was born the 18 before Common Era, passed away the 21st of Common Era. Hermann, known as Arminius to the Romans, was the heir to the chiefdom of the Cherusci tribe. The Cherusci were a Germanic tribe that was generally friendly to the Roman Empire, but was required to pay tribute in order to maintain that peace. Part of this tribute was the sons of local noble families, as was often the case in early European politics. Hermann's father, Segemir, gave up his two sons, Hermann and his brother, to Roman statesman Publius Quinctilius Verus, to be raised in the Roman fashion. Hermann was given the name Arminius, learned Latin, and was taught the Roman martial discipline that had conquered much of Europe by that point. He was a bright student and a disciplined warrior and brilliant leader. His skills were so useful to Rome that they granted him official citizenship, as well as the rank of equius, the equivalent of a knight in the Roman military. He earned this by serving with distinction in the Great Illyrian Revolt. Following this, he was sent home to Germany to aid Governor Verus in conquering the Germanic tribes east of the Rhine. Arminius, or Hermann, returned to the land of Cherusci in northern Germany. His people were still there, still practicing Ásatrú, their loyalty to the Aesir stronger than steel. We do not know exactly why Hermann decided to side with his own people and fight the Romans. Perhaps he had wanted this since he had taken from his father, or perhaps seeing his folk again stirred something in his soul. We may never know. What we do know for certain, however, is that Hermann chose to stand with his folk against encroaching tyranny and globalism. He immediately began plotting a way to unite the various tribes of the area in a bid to push Rome and her legions out of Germany forever. When an emergency broke out in the Balkans, Governor Verus had to send 8 of 11 legions east, leaving Germany with only 3 to keep the peace. Hermann saw this as a grand opportunity and likely recognized it as a blessing from the Aesir themselves. He managed to unite many of the local tribes, a seemingly impossible task since they historically had bickered and warred with each other for generations. In the autumn of 9 Common Era, Hermann tricked Verus into going to Calchris to put down a fake rebellion. When Verus arrived with his 3 legions, they were quickly swept away and annihilated by the might of Prince Hermann and 5 Germanic tribes. It was remembered as the Battle of the Teutoburg Forest. They united as one people and became essentially unstoppable. Blessed by the Aesir once again, the Germans had won a victory that would change human history. This battle is seen as Rome's greatest defeat, as it paved the way for Rome to pull out of Germany permanently. This defeat was so great that Emperor Augustus himself was driven nearly to madness. It is said that he paced around his palace, yelling, "Verus, give me back my legions!" After the battle, Prince Hermann's army proceeded to eliminate every trace of Roman influence east of the Rhine. He even tried to invade Gaul to free our Celtic cousins from the empire, but was blocked on the Rhine by Tiberius. Prince Hermann led the Cherusci for only 12 years after his great victory. He married Germanic priestess Thusnelde, who was later kidnapped by pro-Roman Germans and never saw Hermann again. She gave birth to Hermann's son, Thumelicus, who sadly grew up in Roman captivity. This chain of events eventually led to the breaking of Prince Hermann's great Germanic alliance and his murder. He was killed by men of his own tribe, as they believed he was becoming too powerful and that Germany was becoming too unified. While his previous victories had ensured that Germany would remain free, the petty treachery of some of his folk fractured Germany in a way that it would not recover from. As we draw inspiration and awe from Prince Hermann's victories, let us also reflect and learn from his murder. Even 1,000 years ago, our folk had the same weakness that we have today. When times are good, we seek conflict within and tear ourselves apart. Rome knew this, as Tacitus mentioned in his work, Germania. Prince Hermann had done the impossible and saved his folk from slavery, ensured that their troth with the Holy Aesir would not be broken by later Roman Christianity. But his own folk sought conflict where there need not be any. Had this betrayal not happened, our faith could perhaps have stood unbroken against the scourge of monotheism. If we can learn from this story, if we can take the blessings of the Aesir and keep them, we will continue to stand dauntless against whatever chaos stands to divide us. Hail, Prince Hermann. And just a few days later, on September 12th, we come to the Day of Remembrance for Elsie Christensen. Born September 12th, 1913, passed away May 4th, 2005. Born Elsie Oksner on the 12th of September 1913 in Denmark, she was destined to be one of the leading figures in the reforging of Asatru. Although born in the small town of Esbjerg, she moved to the capital city of Copenhagen as a young woman. During this time of political polarization before the Second World War, she found herself joining the Danish Workers' Party. Here she met her husband, Age Alex Christensen. When the Germans invaded Denmark during World War II, they were both imprisoned due to the involvement with the Danish Workers' Party. Once released from prison, they immigrated to Canada. When they arrived, they almost immediately began working to secure a future for their people. Elsie began networking with other like-minded people across North America, first discovering Asatru, what many called Odinism at the time. A pamphlet entitled Call to Our Ancient Nordic Religion, penned by AFA hero Alexander Rudd Mills, who she kept as a pen pal until his death in 1964. This began Elsie's journey into building a relationship between Aryan and Aesir, immediately understanding that Asatru is the ethnic faith of the Aryan people. She founded the Odinist Fellowship in 1969 and continued this work until her death, even though her husband passed away in 1971. She relocated to the United States shortly before his passing and began a publication called The Odinist. This is what earned her the moniker of Folk Mother, as she was instrumental in bringing so many of our people home to Asatru in her time. In 1993, she was taken advantage of and unknowingly used as a drug mule. She was arrested, tried, and convicted, then sentenced to 5 years and 4 months in prison. Before going to prison, however, she gave the Odinist Fellowship's membership list to Stephen McNallen, who would soon found the Asatru Folk Assembly. After serving her time in prison, she was deported back to Canada, where she attempted to revive the Odinist Fellowship. She began another publication, Midgard Page, in 1998. She passed away on the 4th of May, 2005, in Vancouver Island, Canada. Elsie was one of a few key beacons for Asatru, working the wheel of the Aesir, and lighting the torch that would bring so many of our folk home. Inspired by fellow AFA hero Alexander Rudd Mills, She would later go on to pass the torch to the Herald of Olden, Stephen McNown himself. She played an integral part in the reforging of our native faith, and she will be honored now and forevermore. Elsie Christensen is the dedicated hero of Baldershof. For more information and a deeper dive into the life and acts of our folk mother, check out baldershof.org. Hail the folk mother. Hail Elsie Christensen. And that brings us to our holiday. And as I said earlier, the holiday technically falls on August 22nd, which is the autumnal equinox. But we will do most of our celebrations on the 20th, the third Saturday of the month, our observed day. So let's get down to it and figure out what we're talking about. Haustblót. Haustblót, also known as winter finding, is the ancient calendar only recognized 2 seasons. There was summer and there was winter. Just as Sumermal was their first day of summer, Haustblót was their first day of winter. The temperature slowly begins to fall, the days get shorter. Those who grow their food begin preparations for the final harvests. The larders are growing full with the fruits of earlier efforts. Now it's time to begin the hunt, to kill enough game to finish winter's preparations. Today, many of us don't have the same connections to the need for food and preparation that our ancestors experienced. Food has become easy to access and therefore not so vitally important. Those who hunt usually do it for sport, not because without it they don't have the food to survive the winter. This doesn't mean that, however, that we cannot take the time to think and reflect. Thus begins the winter season. Thus begins the death of the world, too dark and cold. We can all see and feel the change in the world around us. Our days are shorter, the nights grow colder, the leaves change and begin to fall. Go outside, find some place to sit and feel the changes. Make a hearty meal to share with your family and with the gods. If you hunt, dedicate your first kill to the gods and ancestors, to Ur. Share choice cuts with them. Now is time to begin the closing in. Everyone begins to gather closer to home, sticking close to push away the wintry drear. Take time to remember what's important. And with that, y'all, that's the holidays, holy days, days of remembrance of our people. So I want to leave you with this. Winter Nights, New Hampshire. It's coming up. You can get your tickets at runestone.org. It was amazing last year from what I've heard. There are some beautiful, beautiful people up there. And the fall, autumn in New Hampshire, in the New England area. That's going to be a beautiful drive, beautiful scenery. Go up there. Folk Builder Boardman's going to welcome you guys to his neck of the woods. And you'll get to hang out with the Witten Erickson and get the Erickson, the good people of the district, and those traveling, meet the Alsherjargöti, celebrate Winter Nights, celebrate Veternator, the Desir, our female ancestors, and just have a great time around a bonfire, y'all. National event, Winter Nights, gonna be up in New Hampshire. Tickets on sale, runestone.org/store. I'll link it in the description. Thank you guys so much for listening in another month, learning a little bit. And with that, hail Prince Hermann. Hail Elsie Christensen. Hail Ur. Hail the Aesir. Hail the folk. Hail the AFA. Hail victory, y'all. Have a good one.